Hello, on tonight's programme.
The teenager from Kent who lives in constant pain after botched operations by a Great Ormond Street surgeon.
It just doesn't make any sense to me why he done it firstly and why this was allowed to go on for so long.
The Coastguard search and rescue response partly to blame for the deaths of 30 people who drowned in the Channel.
Also, how a flying bomb shot down is helping experts shed light on a dark chapter of wartime history.
And could it get any wetter? I hate to tell you, I'll have the latest forecast where you are.
Good evening. The mum of a teenager from Kent has told ITV News Meridian how her son's life has been ruined by a disgraced Great Ormond Street hospital surgeon.
Ryan Kelly from Chatham was one of 94 children harmed by orthopaedic surgeon Yasser Jabbar, according to a report released by the hospital.
Its chief executive has apologised to families, but Ryan's mother, Susan, wants to know why Jabbar wasn't stopped sooner. She's been speaking exclusively to Joe Caution.
Ryan Kelly loved playing football. Born with a club foot, he always knew it would be a challenge. While he never expected his foot to work perfectly, Ryan was promised by paediatric orthopaedic surgeon Yasser Jabbar that he'd make his foot functional. But the surgeries were botched and he was discharged too early, leaving Ryan, now 19, with a deformed tibia, a misaligned ankle and foot, and living in constant pain.
Going to somewhere like Great Ormond Street felt like a massive, achievement for us to get there, and they were really going to work to fix him.
Speaking with Ryan's blessing, his mum Susan says he's been put through such trauma, he doesn't want to leave the house, but wants his story known.
He refuses to go to the GP, go to the dentist. He is very reluctantly now seeing 2 new specialists and is very hesitant about accepting treatment plans. It's heartbreaking as a parent, the guilt that I live with, aside from trying to deal with a child, an adult now, who is facing everything he's facing. As a parent, I feel like I failed my child. I done everything I could with the information I had, and I trusted the surgeon that I had been referred to. And it's hard. Mum guilt is very hard.
An internal investigation by Great Ormond Street Hospital looked at the cases of nearly 800 children treated by Jabbar over a 5-year period. Of those he operated on, 94 children were harmed, 36 severely, 39 moderately. The report also found missing consent forms, and if there was consent, in some cases, the procedures were different to what the family consented to.
Yasser Jabbar's practice was completely unacceptable. When families come here, they are anxious, they are worried, they put their trust in Great Ormond Street, and in this case, we have breached that trust in a way that's entirely unacceptable. There are reasons, but there are no excuses for what has happened. What I want families to know is we've taken this incredibly seriously. We have reviewed all of the Royal College recommendations and they are completed in full. I can genuinely say the department today is safer than it has ever been, but I am deeply and profoundly sorry for all those children and families that have come to harm as a result.
The Department for Health and Social Care says it's working with NHS England on its own investigation into potential failures of leadership at the hospital. Lawyers are now supporting affected families like Ryan's with clinical negligence claims.
Many of them still work with GOSH because they're still receiving treatment there, and it's really critical for them that they are still able to work with GOSH, still have faith in them, and if they're not being treated there, that they have faith in wherever they are being treated. One bad apple doesn't mean the whole cart's rotten, and that's what they need to be able to get through.
Jabbar, who now lives abroad, has told ITV News he can't comment due to an ongoing investigation by the medical regulator. He no longer has a licence to practice medicine in the UK. If you could say one thing to Mr. Jabbar right now, what would it be?
I just want to know why. Why did you do it? You could have put your hands up like other surgeons had done beforehand and said, I don't know what to do. That's okay, you're human too. You've now left children like mine who are now going into adulthood with not only severe pain, you know, no future prospects, the psychological damage. You've hurt our family. You know, I want to know why he done it. It just doesn't make any sense to me why he done it firstly and why this was allowed to go on for so long.
That report from Joe Caution there. In other news tonight, patients are still being warned to avoid William Harvey Hospital in Ashford unless absolutely necessary. The hospital declared a critical incident on Tuesday night due to exceptional demand for services. It says beds are full and emergency attendance is extremely high, with patients also suffering from winter illnesses and respiratory viruses. People are being asked to only visit A&E for a life-threatening illness or injury.
A ban on using hose pipes for South East Water customers has been lifted. The restrictions implemented last July were blamed on the driest spring in England since 1893. The company says the support of its customers and recent heavy rainfall means resources have recovered, but it's still urging people to be mindful with the water they use. The deaths of dozens of people who drowned in a small boat crossing in the Channel could have been avoided, according to a damning report. More than 30 people died on the 24th of November 2021 when an overcrowded boat started taking on water on its journey to Dover. Sir Ross Cranston, who led an independent inquiry into what happened, has found the Coastguard had chronic staff shortages and limited operational capacity, which meant victims were not rescued. Sarah Saunders has been looking into the report and is in Dover for us this evening. Sarah, this was the worst maritime disaster in the Channel in more than 30 years.
Yes, that's right. As panic rose aboard the small boat, which was operationally known as Charlie, people made a number of distress calls to both British and French maritime rescue services. But as they took on water in the dark and eventually sank, no help ever came. Well, today Sir Ross Cranston said there had been flawed decision-making and missed opportunities in the UK response, and that if a search had continued in daylight, well then that lives would almost certainly have been saved. He said of staff at Her Majesty's Coastguard here in Dover, they were under intolerable conditions because of the number of crossings, but also because of what he described as chronic staff shortages, and he blamed those on the government at the time.
The reality is that the staff at Dover were overwhelmed on the night of the 23rd to the 24th of November 2021. As I say, HM Coastguard were aware of the issues and risks. The inquiry has received little evidence explaining how, if at all, these had been addressed.
Well, in France, there is currently a legal investigation ongoing into why a French naval vessel, the Flamand, failed to respond to Mayday calls at all, despite being the closest vessel. And here in the UK, well, the search was called off despite other border force rescues that night not matching the description of this incident. Well, one of only 2 survivors, he spent 12 hours in the water after distress calls had been made, spoke earlier at the inquiry through a translator.
All night I was holding into the what remained of the boat, and in the morning, and I could hear the people were screaming. This is something I cannot forget. If rescue would come quickly, I believe half of those people would be still alive.
Well, the sister of one 18-year-old victim fears that negligent decisions were made that night, but nonetheless, she still has this message for anyone who is considering undertaking that crossing.
Just take a good way to come rather than the dangerous way, because this way is very dangerous. You can't say when you come out, you can't say 50-50 or less than 50 to get your destination.
Well, both the government and British maritime authorities and Coastguard have said that their thoughts remain with the friends, families and victims of this incident, and that they will now carefully consider the recommendations that were made in the report. The government adding that there have already been significant improvements since 2021, not least to staffing, to British-French coordination, and also, crucially, to tracking technology.
Sarah in Dover, thank you. The Prime Minister has been in Hastings, where he faced more questions about what he knew about Peter Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, our political correspondent Kit Bradshaw has been following events and is in Westminster. Kit, let's start with why Keir Starmer was in Sussex, first of all.
Well, the Prime Minister wanted to talk about his Pride in Place programme, the scheme that sees towns across the country get tens of millions of pounds to spend on community projects. Hastings is one of them, Ramsgate in Kent is another, but that scheme and the speech at the Wartime Park Sports Centre in St Leonards-on-Sea totally overtaken by events. The growing row, as you say, about the Prime Minister's decision to appoint Lord Mandelson as British Ambassador to the United States, despite knowing that he continued a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein after the Americans' conviction for child sex offences. So Sir Keir chose that stage in Sussex to apologise to Epstein's victims.
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again.
And Kit, some are calling for the Prime Minister to quit over this, something you're talking about on The Last Word later on.
Yes, real unhappiness on the Labour backbenchers, Matt. One Labour MP put it to me that they're absolutely livid about this whole scandal and the government's handling of it. As you say, I've just come from recording our monthly politics show, The Last Word. Here's the assessment of two of my panellists.
If we think of the victims, what does it say to them when the Prime Minister of this country, who purports to be on the side of people who've had sexual abuse, actually appoints somebody who's a friend of a convicted paedophile? What does it say to them? And I think that's shameful. And my personal view is Starmer needs to go, and he needs to go soon.
I do think there needs to be accountability. I think for me, ultimately, the guiding principle, the guiding question has to be, are we doing right by these women and these girls who have frankly been abused and trafficked and treated in ways that no woman should ever be treated in? And that's what we've got to get right.
It's important to say that Lord Mandelson has denied any criminality, but there's a growing sense here at Westminster that this is the worst scandal to engulf Sir Keir Starmer's premiership since he entered number 10, and frankly, Labour MPs are running out of patience. Much more on that on tonight's Last Word. We're on after news at 10, slightly later because of the rugby, or you can watch now on ITVX.
OK, for now, Kit, thank you.
Millions of people are risking their lives by not testing their smoke alarms.
Research shows 9% of people don't check them. Safety experts say it's putting lives at risk. Here's James Webster.
All the blinds gone, the windows cracked, the ceiling plaster is all starting to come down.
Assessing the damage from a fire that Jamie Warden knows he and his family were lucky to escape from.
We did have a gaming chair which we got for Christmas for one of my children. That went up because that was right next to the couch. The TV melted off the wall. But the main thing is it contained to that area.
And this, the smoke alarm that potentially saved their lives, waking Jamie and his wife at 3 a.m, giving them time to escape with their 2 children.
If we didn't have the smoke alarms, we could have slept longer. God knows how long, you know. The fire could have spread, escalated, and we might have woken up to flames coming up the stairs. You never know, do you? You don't know how it's going to escalate. So, yeah, that's very, very important that they were working.
Despite the dangers posed by fires like this, new data shows here in the southeast, 9% of people don't test their smoke alarms. And campaigners say too many homes don't have one at all. 1 in 5 accidental electrical fires recorded in the last 2 years had no smoke alarm fitted. Fire crews like this one from East Sussex, based in Lewis, are regularly called to electrical fires, particularly caused by items plugged in and left unattended.
Don't leave things charged or running when you go out the house or when you go to bed. You know, charge your phone when you're around, unplug it when you go to bed, or unplug it if you leave the house. Similar for white goods, you know, don't use washing machines or tumble dryers. Don't leave them running when you go out of the house. If you use a tumble dryer, make sure you're really regularly cleaning the lint filters. They need regular cleaning. Not only will they potentially cause an excess build-up of heat, if you don't, there is a potential for a fire starting there.
This week is Electrical Fire Safety Week, which campaigners say is the perfect time to get into better habits for checking smoke alarms.
So this is your standard standalone smoke alarm, and this battery will last a year or so, and it's important that you replace that when that battery goes low.
And those ones, they're a sealed unit, aren't they? What does that mean?
So you fit this smoke alarm and you never need to change the battery. You still need to check the smoke alarm once a month to make sure it's still working, but you never need to change the battery. And after 10 years, the sensor will have reached the end of its life and it's time to replace the whole unit.
So this is our wedding from 2022.
Back with Jamie, he's relieved it's just possessions that he's lost, all things that can be replaced. He knows how important having a working smoke alarm is.
Monthly, weekly, as often as you can. You know, it takes a few seconds. Get one of them steps so you can reach to the ceiling or wherever your smoke alarm is and just press it. It's going to save your life.
Good advice. A flying bomb shot down in Kent during the Second World War would have been hit by gunners shooting from a mile away. Just one of the findings of a recent excavation of the remains of a V1 bomb in Benenden.
Archaeologists have just finished conserving their finds, which tell a story of the incredible skills of gunmen at the time. Here's Abigail Bracken.
The deadly V1 flying bombs were a common sight and sound above the skies of Kent and Sussex in the summer of 1944. Travelling at 350 miles an hour, they were aiming for London, and at first our defences were ill-equipped to take them down. So archaeologists have been excavating the remains of this crash site in the High Weald to discover whether it could have been hit from the ground. They've spent months conserving their finds, many showing signs of being hit by a shell in the air.
The flying bomb was coming in roughly this direction. So it's been hit by the anti-aircraft crew and it's fallen this direction. The blast field for this site went something like this. And the interesting thing is that these pieces of engine matrix were found between 25 and 55 metres away. Part of the gyro was found nearly 80 metres away. In the crater, we found this height adjusting dial, and by the side of the crater there was the tailpipe, and by the side of that is the wing spar.
So all the finds were over a large area?
Larger than we usually find. Usually we find the finds along the trajectory about 50 metres away from the crater, but at this site it was up to 80 metres. We think that the tailpipe came away from the body of the flying bomb as it was going along and it got hit.
The V1s were the world's first guided missile, known as Hitler's revenge weapons, as their first attack in 1944 was just 1 week after D-Day. 9,500 were launched against Britain, killing more than 6,000. Our home defences scrambled to respond to this new weapon. At first, they were using Bofors guns.
Listen to the amazing bark of these giant machine guns that
Operated by 7 men working together, but without any form of guidance like radars to hit a high-speed target. A target that was taken down in Benenden just 2 weeks after the very first doodlebug landed in Britain.
And this piece was found in the crater?
Yes. When I came to conserve it, I had to stop very quickly because on the side of it, it was clear that there were numbers probably 700 and 1,000. After much research, it turns out that the Germans were using millibars to set the height that the flying bomb flew at. And that's relatively new information. So I think what's happened here is that when the unit detonated, that was blown off and the needle made a notch in the side of the dial, which is really good because it tells us roughly the height that the flying bomb was flying at. And in this case, it's about 3,000 feet.
And that height is at the limit of the guns used by the anti-aircraft unit at the time. They'd only travelled to Kent from Bournemouth a few days before, but they claimed this bomb and 2 others in the same day. This diagram shows they were stationed 1 mile away from the Doodlebug's flight path, and once hit, the V1 took another mile to crash to the ground.
This is a replica of one of the shells that would have been used by the Bofors gun at the time. About 2 of them were fired in a single second, but there would have only been 10 seconds when the V1 would have been in range in Benenden, so taking that Doodlebug down was an incredible shot.
We're 2 weeks into the flying bomb offensive, and that light anti-aircraft unit had no help apart from the dials on the gun itself, no radar at all. They were fresh out of basically some relaxation in Bournemouth where they'd been training. They came along to the site and there's the flying bomb going really, really fast. I think they knew that that was the trajectory of a flying bomb corridor towards London, but it was just pure skill.
So now this team of modern archaeologists will be presenting their findings at a public lecture in the village on Friday, revealing the skill of the gunners protecting us from a new and deadly weapon. Abigail Bracken, ITV News, Benenden.
Holly's with us now. Holly, the weather, the rain, we're fed up.
It continues, yes. And I was looking through our emails and social media to try and find something to show us just how soggy it's been. And lo and behold, I found the perfect thing on Instagram. Take a look at this.
Yeah, you devils. Well, I went for my daily walk and I kind of mistimed the rain clouds a little bit. It was wet out there.
Matt didn't know that we were going to show that.
No, I didn't. No. I thought I looked great.
I enjoyed your comment underneath, which was that forecasting is harder than it looks.
Yes.
Thanks.
This malarkey.
Is it too late?
Forecasting malarkey.
Is it too late to retract it? No, it's fine. Okay, go on then. Show us how easy it is.
Well, I'm going to tell you something completely
Go on
different, just for now. Something that's a little bit more cheerful than all of the rain, and that is that today we are exiting what's known as solar winter. It's the darkest 3 months of the year. I've got a little graphic to try and explain it. So, the darkest 3 months of the year occur around the winter solstice, 21st of December, when the sun is very, very low in the sky. The brightest 3 months occur around the summer solstice, the 21st of June, and yes, we are currently exiting those darkest 3 months. Our sun's getting higher in the sky, the days are getting longer. We'll in theory see more sunshine if the clouds and rain ever clears. But what I want to do, that's cheering me up. I want to hear from our viewers about what is cheering them up at the moment. Let me know, send me your photos and I'll try and show some on the programme tomorrow. In the meantime, let's get the latest on the rain.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
So yes, the rain continues in earnest. We've still got this setup that we've had for ages now, low pressure approaching the UK, getting blocked by an area of high pressure across Scandinavia and simply getting stuck really, dying in situ, meandering around and delivering some really disappointing and wet conditions. And yes, certainly at the moment, rain spilling its way in. This will be quite persistent, I think, through this evening and tonight. Some livelier bursts likely and a lot of low cloud and hill fog in the mix as well. It is mild, temperatures won't fall that much actually from our daytime values, but tomorrow morning we start the day grey. We start the day with some hill fog, with some outbreaks of rain, and although you might perhaps see a few bright spells as the day wears on, I suspect they'll be in fairly short supply and they'll be punctuated by further lively showers. Temperatures a smidge higher than today's values with that southwesterly breeze. These are our times of high water for tomorrow. So we've got Chatham at 3:19 and again at 3:44 into the afternoon. So zooming out, this is the picture of tomorrow evening and overnight, and you can see a little gap potentially in the rain. So you might start Saturday morning on a drier note, but rain is never too far away, working its way in from the west. And I think, generally speaking, we are keeping this unsettled look. You might see some drier and brighter spells at times, but further rain tends to head its way towards us, and at the moment, no let-up in sight. Take care.
TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
So yes, reasons to be cheerful. Send us your ideas, meridianweather@itv.com.
Walking when it's not raining. There's number one.
Yeah, simple.
That's it from us. Thanks for watching. We will see you very soon. Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.